we have an exciting program today. And it's always an exciting program, right? Because so many of us have many things to do, but we make it happen. That's our theme today. We make it happen because we know there's a lot invested in this club. A lot of members go through some preparation to get ready for today. We have speakers. We have a new member, and I don't see her on board yet. Does anyone see Dr. Lawana?
No, not yet.
Okay, I was going to induct her as a new member. She just joined us as a member, but we'll wait for her to get on board before we start that. So make it happen. How do you make it happen? Do you procrastinate? Do you put things before yourself? Do you put others before yourself? Sometimes it's necessary. Because I know I like to put my children first. I like to put my family and other priorities, as you all do. But then we realize that sometimes we need self-care and we need to just focus on ourselves. So in order to make it happen, we have to put ourselves first. And when we hear our speakers today, you'll find that they have put themselves first in what they will speak about. So thank you. We see that Dr. Lawana is here, and I did want to read the Toastmasters promise to her so that she can be officially inducted as a new member of our club. Dr. Lawana, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I see you. Good morning. So
Good morning.
let's start the meeting with the induction. I'm going to read the Toastmasters promise because I know Dr. Lawana promises to do these things. But when I finish reading it quickly, then we can see how some of our members feel about membership in this club and any Toastmasters club. So here goes. As a member of Toastmasters International and this Entrepreneur Toastmasters Club, Lawana, do you promise to attend club meetings regularly and prepare for all projects to the best of your ability, basing them on the Toastmasters education program called Pathways, to prepare for and fulfill meeting assignments and provide fellow members with helpful, constructive evaluations to help the club maintain that positive, friendly environment necessary for all members to learn and grow and serve your club as an officer when called upon to do so. To treat your fellow club members and guests with respect and courtesy, and bring guests to club meetings so that they too can see the benefits Toastmasters membership offers. To adhere to the guidelines and rules of all Toastmasters education and recognition programs, and to act within Toastmasters core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence during the conduct of all Toastmasters activities. Lawana, do you promise to uphold the Toastmasters promise in this club?
I do.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone, please congratulate Dr. Lawana Parker for being our newest member in Entrepreneur Toastmasters Club. And Dr. Lawana, we know that you will be giving some speeches and offering your expertise as an entrepreneur during the course of your membership in this club. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Right.
And accepting me.
All right. Yes, and you know, you've attended as a guest several times. Is there something you'd like to say before we start the meeting?
Well, the purpose of me attending several times was to make sure that you were the club that you were, I was told you were. because there have been many where I've gone and then they change. So
Yes,
as long as you stay on this path, you have a member. I love what you stand for, the opportunity to give longer speeches and the fact that everyone has the opportunity to comment on them.
yes, yes, we do. Thank you so much. Today's program, let me introduce our Toastmaster of the day. She's been a Toastmaster since 2005, and she found herself in a corporate club at her job. And then shortly after that, she became a new club mentor. And then she found herself joining other clubs. And why did she do that? Because she said every club offered her something different. Every club has a unique culture that provides an experience for the member. So now we have our Toastmaster of the day. I wonder who that is. It's Roz Carter. And thank you so much. I'm so happy to be introducing our speakers, our evaluator, general evaluator, table topics master, and timer. Will our timer show us the signals that you'll be using today? Werner? You are muted.
Yes, sorry
Okay,
about
there you
that.
go.
I am also mentally not here. Uh, as timer, I'm going to be, well, timing the speakers and also the periods of time where we have the question and answers or the round robin. And I will be giving a green light for when you have enough time in the middle and 30 seconds left to finish off whatever it is you're wanting to do. And that is my timer job. So back
All
to our
right.
Toastmaster, Rosalind Carter.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So where do we begin? We have two speakers today, and our first speaker is Taya Reed. Taya has been a Toastmaster since 2018. She's working on Communicate Change project from Visionary Communication. Over the next 5 to 7 minutes, she's going to share 8 reasons why every adoptee should have access to their original birth certificate. Her speech is titled No More Secrecy, Unsealing Birth Certificates. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Taya Reed.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Today it is my hope to share with you 5 compelling reasons for why an adoptee should have access to their original birth certificate. First, let me share a bit of the backstory as to even why adoptees had their records sealed. Since I reside in Texas, I will share first some of the information in this state and then carry it over to California, which is the state in which I was originally born. Prior to 1957, an adoptee in Texas could obtain their original birth certificate once they reached the age of 21. It was Senate Bill 167 that closed original birth certificates that sealed those records, replaced them with amended ones, and then only made them available by court order. This bill was originally meant to protect adoptees who might otherwise be discriminated against through laws that targeted illegitimacy. It was meant to protect adoptees from this stigma of being a bastard child, but it was also to protect the newly adopted family so that no one knew an adoption had occurred. There was nothing in the law about protecting the birth mother's identity, But somehow over the years, opponents of reform turned this around and started to say that it should protect the birth mother's anonymity. Well, today, there are 10 states that have open birth certificate records. However, California is still a restricted state, which means that a California-born adoptee, such as myself, must petition the court and show good and compelling cause to open my records. Although courts are required to give what they call great weight to the fact that the petitioning adoptee is now an adult, this great weight has not been defined in the context of opening one's records. So this leads to my first reason for why an adoptee should have access. It is our basic right to have access, and we are the only group denied this. Genealogy has been around since the beginning of humankind. And for many, we have a basic fundamental desire to learn about our roots. How many of us are familiar with the PBS TV show called Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates? Yes, yes. Their episodes have celebrities diving into their ancestry, sometimes uncovering deep secrets and hidden identities. So if such a show exists and we learn from it, why not allow an adoptee to have that access? So this comes to my second reason. It supports our understanding of our health. Before I found my birth mother, every time that I would go to the doctor's office and they would ask me about my medical history, I couldn't respond. I couldn't give them any idea of potential health issues that may be in my family. The denial of access to my original birth certificate denied me knowledge of my DNA, which we know can have potential health consequences. This is my third reason, which is authenticity. It wasn't until I was an adult that I actually understood what an amended birth certificate actually meant, and that I actually had an original one and an original birth name at that. Just to give you a bit more perspective of the gravity of this, in Texas alone, there are 960,000 adoptees who do not have access to their original birth certificate. So my fourth reason is that we do grow up and we do become adults. And so this perspective about protecting the rights of the birth mother or the adoptive parent seems to ignore that we are no longer children. Some have argued that if there was such a horrible secret around the conception or the birth of their child, that would be reason to not provide that access. Adopted people, though, having access to their original birth certificate does not mean that that birth mother has to share the details around the conception and their birth. It is simply a vital statistic document, a genealogical record. So finally, my last reason is secrets result in unnecessary pain and suffering. As a therapist, I have counseled many adoptees and seen their suffering in their trying to search for their biological family. And this pain is easily avoidable if we are to have access. I was fortunate to happen upon my birth mother by way of a documentary that used what is known as an adoption reunion expert. And she charged a pretty penny, by the way, for her services to find her. And I thought, how interesting it is that a professional who has certain credentials has access to the beginning of my story, and I do not. This is a business, but because of my desperate need to know my origin story, I paid that fee. But not every adoptee has the financial means to search. And the funny thing is, although I found my birth mother, it did not give me access to my original birth certificate. I would still need to go through social services and put a petition in to the court that filed for my adoption. And in that, I would still need to show good and compelling cause for the unsealing of my records. And then it is still left to the sole discretion of that judge as to whether they would do that. This is a major roadblock and one that I think that needs to be removed. So let me just close by saying that although finding my birth mother allowed me to come home to self, I believe that having access to my original birth certificate would allow me, as well as other adoptees, to add just another puzzle piece to our emotionally complex story. Thank you.
Thank you, Taya. What a compelling story. And now we'll take 3 to 4 minutes to allow the audience to make their compelling remarks. Use your virtual hand and I'll call on you as I see you. I see Bond is first.
Oh, I'm the first. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. Taya, what a beautiful story. I remember a while ago, I sent a couple of questions purely based on the audience or the fans. One of the fans of your podcast, I found her. One of the questions was whether you could, the mother and daughter duo could bring us some general knowledge in this cycle and give us some feeling across the state, across the law system, across society. And here you go. You are bringing us some general knowledge and based on your personal story. So I'm so excited to see this the resonation between your fan or your audience and your own story. Thank you so much for doing that, not only for yourself and for the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Bond. And Randy, I see your hand is up. Randy Powell. Okay, Randy, your hand is up. I thought you might want to make some comments on that, but we don't hear you. Your sound is off. So are there any other comments that we could provide during this? Werner, okay. And then Ray.
I'm just pinned so people can see the light.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, Ray.
Thank you. I really want to comment, Taya, on your, not only your presentation, but your articulation and the way you explained that really informative meeting or story. Presenting a story like that, one can easily come from different directions, but I absolutely love the way you presented it, the tone of your voice, your facial expressions. I could not have imagined another presentation with the information that you presented in the way that you presented it. So soothing, so informative, so factual. And if I was ever going to be in your particular shoes, the way you did it, my goodness, yeah, that's so soothing and relaxing. Again, the information being produced, because there was a lot of information there, but the way you presented it, I really give thanks to that particular style. Thank you so much, Taya, for presenting that this morning. Great information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And one more. I see April's hand is up.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for your wonderful and insightful and impactful speech this morning. To end off with saying that you still don't have your original birth certificate, although you found her, that was very, it felt like I'm still processing that part and just the significance I don't know if you're taking this to the Senate or running it all the way up, but I just saw this vision of you not stopping until you have resolution. So kudos to you there. My only feedback would be to maybe have a simple PowerPoint slide at the end with the chart that does a side-by-side comparison of the statistics, because you did share some statistics in Texas of, I think it was maybe 96,000 or 900 something
960.
thousand. Okay, thank you. Of adoptees who do not have access. I wonder what that number would be in California, but that comparison chart just to see would be really helpful so that we could visually see the impact. But overall, again, you really opened up a whole nother door of thought process for me. So thank you.
Thank you, April. And anyone else who would like to give feedback to Taya, please send a private chat in the chat box for additional comment. Okay, our second speaker, Bond Wang. He's been a Toastmaster for 4 years, working on understanding your leadership style. This project is in team collaboration. So for the next 5 to 7 minutes, he's going to share stories that helped him form a better understanding of his leadership style. The title is, I don't want to become Bill Gates, I make Bill Gates. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Bond Wang.
Once upon a time, I was so close to the world business leader, Bill Gates. Let me be clear first. It was the Bill Gates before the Jeffrey Epstein's debacle. What happened was my best friend, college roommate, Kang, was called Bill Gates of the city. That was close, wasn't it? Well, Kang owned a truck delivery company with over 1,000 of employees and a fleet of trucks across the country. I don't know what a truck company has to do with Microsoft, but back in the day, when your business is on the fast lane, everyone can be called Bill Gates. Kang appeared on the local newspaper, on the TV, talked about leadership and success. I didn't work for him, so I had no chance to see his leadership styles in the real business. But under the spotlight, he seemed to possess all the traits of a great leader: eloquent, passionate, and driven. Whenever we met in person, Kang fervently preached his vision of bringing his company to a global Fortune 500. However, a few years later, when I saw Kang in the news again, he faced charges for several crimes. His success story turned out to be some bad business practices, like fraudulent activities, stealing the corporate money for his lavish lifestyle. Well, Kang's images in the news lingered in my mind for quite some time. He steps out of his red Ferrari, stares at the camera. Everyone should dream of becoming Bill Gates. Really? Everyone? I was wondering. Well, back to 2 decades ago, it was quite a bold statement. There was a saying at the time that goes, the patients will die one by one if every nurse in the hospital wants to become a doctor. Sometimes I found myself ask Kang in the TV, hey, if everyone wants to become Bill Gates, who is got work for him? But Kang was my best friend. His story took a toll on my search for the leadership style. For many years, whenever I saw a business celebrity talking passionately about leadership and success, I pulled back and raised some doubts in my mind. Second story about my search for leadership style took place pretty recently, and it was in a Toastmasters club. A new club member impressed all of us with a gift of public speaking and a bunch of certificates, motivational speaker, life coach, etc., etc. In the new club officer election, he won the club presidency. Well, his campaign speeches were full of charisma and vision. We just couldn't resist it. However, while leading the club in the daily operations, this new president showed some qualities that, in my opinion, were quite contradictory to the eloquence he showed on the stage. In my observation, I saw a pattern of inactivity in operation, but active abstraction in leadership, where he seemed to only intend to show his influence. Fortunately, it's a non-profit organization, and we can manage to work around him. But then his leadership showcase took a sudden turn. He disappeared. He just disappeared before his presidency was over. No clue, no email, no phone call whatsoever. And we just later found out through his social media that he had moved out of the state. I couldn't get my head around between the behavior and the charismatic speaker on the stage. It added another layer to my doubt of leadership style. I asked myself, does the art of public speaking really guarantee effective leadership? Fellow Toastmasters, identifying one's leadership style is not only a journey toward success, it's also a path of self-discovery. But when it comes to my search of leadership style, I try to collect inspiration with the ground level works. Get the job done first. Respect the fundamentals. Only then can I resort to those fancy words like creativity, inspiration. This may sound a lack of ambition in the beginning, but over time, I can still generate value and inspire others in the team. See, I don't want to become Bill Gates, but I can make Bill Gates. So, Mr. Bill Gates, you don't worry. You can rest assured that there are still some people who don't want to become you, and there are some people who are willing to make you Bill Gates. Of course, that Bill Gates before the Jeffrey Epstein's debacle. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bond. Wow, what a perspective on Bill Gates and leadership as a whole. Now let's take 3 to 4 minutes to hear comments from anyone who'd like to share their perspective and what they appreciated about Bond's presentation. Please raise your virtual hand. I see Rosabelle.
Thank you. That was a great presentation and certainly food for thought on ethical leadership. In fact, I don't know if your project was on leadership style or on ethical leadership, but it certainly fits both. And a good lesson that we don't all want to become Bill Gates. We should optimize our potential. And that's what leaders are and mentors are for, to help us achieve our own potential and not become someone else's. Thank you. Great speech.
Wow, great perspective. Dr. Valencia, our program quality director-elect. and incoming club president for entrepreneurs. What's your comment today?
Thank you very much. Madam President, I think Warner had his hand up. Did you have your hand up first, Warner?
Well, I did want to try, yes.
Okay, you can go ahead, sir. Servant leadership is important. Go ahead, please, and then I'll go after you.
Well,
Thank you, Madam
okay.
President.
My comment is actually rather short. It was an interesting story about Bill Gates and whatnot, but what got me was, what about my leadership skills? I have this knowledge and stuff, and I've been watching people. I'm a people watcher since I was very young. But then I really have not had my feet in the full fire yet. Of course, I've had some playing around. Well, I don't even know if I can call it playing around with businesses that I opened and then closed. I found a certain very important problem that I have that I'm still working to get past. But once I get going, as we have make it happen, and I'm wanting to make it happen this year into the next year, what kind of leadership am I going to be presenting to my employees? That's a question I really need to answer myself. Thank you. And that's
Thank
provoked
you.
by your story. Thank you.
Thank you, Werner. Dr. Valencia.
Bond, thank you very much for your speech. From the beginning, I love the title. I couldn't help but think, brainstorm, and wonder, what is this speech going to be about from the title? The title just blew me back. So great selection on the title. As you talked about transparency and leadership, it is important for us as leaders to be transparent, whether you're a leader in the home, a company, a community, or a volunteer organization like Toastmasters. It also brought the point home when you use the story. Stories attract people. They bring people in. They make you wonder and reflect, not only on something that you may have done yourself, or it could be something that you remember that you experienced in the past. So once you brought the story in, it connected myself, and I'm sure the rest of the audience even more. I saw people leaning in, wondering, questioning. In addition to that, your lighting is always great. You're always centered at the center of your screen, which is just an added bonus for you. If there was something that I could recommend that you would do, it was just to have some type of picture, presentation, or PowerPoint to just further add to what you've already said. But outside of that, just speaking, it was an amazing speech. Your vocal variety was there. I've noticed an increase in a change and growth in your vocal variety and your tone. So congratulations as you continue to move forward and help me as a leader, and I'm sure others, reflect on our leadership. Back to you, Madam President.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Valencia. And thanks again to our speakers, Bond Wang and Taya Reed. Now let's move into entrepreneur table topics. The person that will lead us in that is a mastermind genius, an entrepreneur extraordinaire. He will take us on a journey with a few questions, so get ready, lean in, and please welcome Randy Paul.
Awesome, awesome. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so, it's interesting because we had a mastermind meeting last evening, and the topic of AI came up, artificial intelligence. So what I did was I changed horses in the middle of the stream. Now, when I was asked to become this person tonight or this morning, what I did was I thought, okay, let me just write out some questions. And then I said, no, let me use Sarah. Sarah is my AI friend. And what I did was I said, this is what I need in one sentence. And she said, oh, let me give you 8 great questions. So I'm going to start off with a few questions to the team of Make It Happen. I hope that's okay since it is the theme. Question number 3 that she said to me, she said, how do you maintain focus and motivation during challenging times when it feels like nothing is happening? Miss Deborah Gillis, let me repeat the question. How do you maintain focus and motivation during challenging times when it feels like nothing is happening? You've got it.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics this morning. Good morning, everyone. I first think, am I wrong? Am I the one that's not focusing on what's going on? So I have to analyze, is it me or is it the surrounding situation that I have? And then I pray, go like, maybe God, is it me? Give me direction. And then I look at the items that I'm not focusing on or should be focusing on. I write them down and put them in a priority situation. Like, is this 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, and C? And I take upon myself, like, which is priority? Why am I not focusing on this first? And C last, and Z in the middle. So I have to listen and focus on, am I going in the right direction, first of all? And what is it that is prompting me to doubt what direction I should be going in? Thank you, Mr. Table Topics.
Awesome, awesome, awesome response to what Sarah had to ask. So my next question, out of the 8 questions that she gave me, was I'm going to pick, let's see, number 5. What steps do you take to turn ideas into actionable plans? How do you ensure and follow through and make them happen? Let's see. Dr. LaWanna Parker. Let me read the question again. What steps do you take to turn ideas into actionable plans, and how do you ensure that you follow through and make them happen? Dr. Parker.
Thank you. Somehow I knew you were going to call me. I was looking away, but never mind. Well, first of all, I go through all my doubts. Everything that tells me you can't do it, why waste your time? And then if it's something I truly am interested in, I start thinking about, okay, I saw this person do it. How did they handle it? And I start trying to pull some ideas from what other people have done. In the end, it does turn out to be my idea, but I'll pull in from successes of other people and how they handle situations. This is a tough one because as I say, the doubts come in and you have to let them. You have to acknowledge that they're there so you can deal with them and then push them aside and then start working on what it is that you want to do. And once I know what it is that I want to concentrate on, and that's the key right there, you got to select the one thing you want to concentrate on and then start thinking about how I can do this and make your steps as to the direction that you want to go in. It's not easy, trust me. And as Deborah was saying, I like what you were saying there. But as you were saying, sometimes it gets really rough. And as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, how would I handle it when I'm really feeling discouraged because things aren't going the way I want? And the answer always comes back to reading a good romance story. It lifts me out of whatever I'm in. Thank you for that question.
Thank you very much. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something else. I'm a guy, so I wasn't thinking romance, but that's awesome. We all have to have something that we cling on to when we're on the edge of the cliff. Okay, let's see here. Sarah also asked a question. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneurs who struggle to take action and make things happen? How can they overcome their inertia? Mr. Charles Radney, let me read that question again. This is Sarah's 8th question, and I'm jumping around. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who struggle to take action and make things happen? How can they overcome this inertia? Mr. Charles.
Well, first, Randy, I'm going to throw one thing back at you. I would probably go to ChatGPT and have them give me the guidelines and an outline. For those of you who've not done anything with AI, you really need to look into it because it will answer questions like that. Now, from my personal experience, I would actually do what we call a gap analysis with the entrepreneur, find out what they knew, what they didn't know, what they didn't know they didn't know, and then help them to get on track to reaching the goal they're trying to reach. I would show them how to break that goal down into achievable parts. I would show them how to look at that goal from the standpoint of challenges that could come up either because of family members, life situations, financial situations, and from there, help them to map a way using kind of what you do in a mastermind, help them do just a brainstorming session with them so I could find out what they needed and how I could help them and how I could provide resources for them. Back to you, Tom.
Awesome, awesome. So we've got, looks like we might have time for, the green light came on. So let's try another question until we get the yellow. Miss Frankie Jones. Now I did a little different. Instead of asking the question, I called her name out first. I wanted to give her a little extra moment to know it's her, she's on stage. Describe a situation where you had to collaborate with others to make a project or initiative happen. How did you build and maintain successful partnerships? Let me say that again, ask that question. Describe a situation where you had to collaborate with others to actually make a project or initiative happen, and how did you build and maintain successful partnerships? Ms. Frankie.
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. I immediately go to the time I spent as the Rialto Chamber Manager, because for 4 years, we had projects continually. And I came into the job without any experience in this. It's the reason I joined Toastmasters, Grand Terrace Toastmasters at the time, because we put on Rialto Days every year. We had a Rialto Air Show. We had the airport at the time. One of the most satisfying was the Miss Rialto pageant, because it wasn't about the beauty. I got to take these girls on a journey that they would not even believe. I was knee deep in self-help seminars and all that good stuff. I mean, we had a session where they broke the board. Do you remember that? And they could use their hand or they could use their foot, but all of them. And to watch these girls blossom and grow in that few weeks that I had them. And I had a whole team of people. How do you run a volunteer army? And it was learning communication. It was enrolling them in the process as this is our project and we want it to be successful. And what do we need to do to make it happen? And who do we need to talk to? And we involved the community leaders. We involved the business. We involved local government. We involved local law enforcement. It was really a huge team effort, and I loved every minute of it. So that's my process. That's my leadership style, is enroll them in the process. Let them take ownership and listen. Listening is so important. Listen to ideas, listen to complaints, all of it. So thank you for that question. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome, Ms. Frankie Jones. And back to you, Ms. Roz Carter, our Toastmaster of the day. Thank you.
Wow, let's give Randy a round of applause. Those were deep, interesting questions that I'm sure if everyone can send a private chat to Randy, you could probably answer any one of those in your own way because they were compelling as well. He made it happen. So let's move into our general evaluation. Ray Robles is going to tell us what he thinks about our speakers and the overall meeting. Take it away, Ray.
Thank you so much, Roz. Well, again, let's make it happen. The meeting started on time. Excellent. It's one of the things that this club does. And I like the fact when folks get together, as we were talking earlier, get together prior to the meeting starting, because you never know if we may have technical glitches. In today's times, it would be easy to have a technical glitch. And if you have a glitch and you're starting right on time, that means you're already late, because if the glitch does take place, by the time you log on, it may be 5, maybe even 10 minutes later. But kudos, we started on time. Warner introduced Roz, the president. The only thing I might say there is, in some cases, when I was the Social Security administrator, the sergeant at arms, I would give a 5-minute warning, then a 3-minute warning, and then a 1-minute warning, and then take your places because the curtain's about to open. So again, great job. Thank you, Warner. I love the fact when Roz introduced herself as a Toastmaster. How many of you had to be the Toastmaster and you were also the president? Wonderful way you did that. You handled it. I've done it a few times, and I could not have done it better than you did this morning, with humor and laughter, and you just had fun with it. Speaking of having fun, it's great when we have the cameras on and we see smiling faces. Smiles means high energy. It means optimism. It means positivity. It means high frequency. So smile, because you're setting the tone for the rest of your day when you smile. So let's make it happen. Let's smile. We've already done evaluations for our speakers, but I want to really salute both Taya and Bond again. Great informative speeches. Loved them. Thank you so much, guys, for those great speeches. And our table topics, are we giving thanks to Randy or Sarah, or both of them? I'm going to have to meet Sarah, and soon I will. And I'm hoping Randy will share Sarah with me, because she's got a lot of ideas. And those ideas in today's times, they're going to do wonderful things for a lot of creators. It's going through the roof right now. There's a lot of creative people. They're stopping what they don't like in life, and they're leaning into what they absolutely like or love. They're expressing themselves, and the Sarahs of the world, it's going to make ways to help others achieve their goals and objectives. That's one thing I'm working on, by the way. So thank you so much, Randy. Thank you so much, Sarah. We made it happen. Let's go forth today, this wonderful day, and have a great day, and just give thanks for this meeting this morning. And with that, well done, everyone. We made it happen. Thank you, Roz. Back to you. Great job.
Thank you, Ray. You made it happen by evaluating the key points of this meeting that we all appreciate. I'd like to get the timers report and then take it to members and guests who have final comments before we adjourn. What's the timers report, Werner?
Yes, we got quite a few times here to report on. Speakers, first of all, we have Taya, who just squeaked past the maximum time. It's supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes, which you get the 30-second leeway past the 7, but you went to 7:34, 4 seconds beyond. That's an oops, but close. Bond at 6 minutes and 42 seconds. The question and answer, or should I say round robin time period, were well within at 4:18 on Taya's and 3:55 otherwise on Bond's. The table topics, all within margin. Deborah had 1 minute 11. Lawana had 1 minute 52. Charles had 1 minute 13. And Frankie had 2 minutes and 16 seconds. They all qualify. During the evaluation, we have 3 to 5 minutes as the time range. And Ray popped it over the initial with 3 minutes and 6 seconds of extra time used. That is the timer's report. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Werner. Now you see how good we are? We are really within the time frame. So if we were in competition, and I suggest this club have a contest to participate next year. You already have managed your time in every aspect of this meeting. So thank you all very, very much. We have 10 minutes to spare. So I would like to remind our club members, especially the officers, to register for Toastmasters Leadership Institute, or TLI, this Saturday in person in the city of Claremont, California. And if you cannot attend in person, there are plans to have a virtual TLI on June 24th. So please make sure we, like our 7 club officers, to get credit for training twice a year. So will our officers please enroll in or register for in-person or virtual training? Frankie?
I actually did my training at District 8 TLI last weekend. So I got my Sergeant at Arms training in there. Since I'm working Jason this Saturday, I probably won't be able to attend many sessions.
Oh yeah, sometimes the workers get left out, right? For training.
Yeah.
So
I did my
that's a-
VPM training with District 7 last week, but I'm also VPE of another club. So I will be at TLI in Claremont. But I remember last year I couldn't attend 2 different officer training meetings because there was a time conflict. They all occur at the same time. So that's why I knew this time I would have to go with another district to do one of my officers. But you should be getting notice that I did my VPM training because I put this club down as for my VPM. I don't know how soon you get that, but it should. I signed up on it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And Dr. Valencia, our incoming Program Quality Director, will be responsible for making sure all the club officers get their check marks that they have been trained, whether it's inside the district or in another district. So they will work that out. Now, next meeting is my last meeting as your club president. And we will transition and pass over to our incoming officers. There might be a theme, there might be some additional things that we feel is necessary to bring up to our members because we want to keep you engaged. And while the officers are transitioning into new roles and new members are coming on board as a club officer, will you support them? Will you find a way to make next year even more exciting than our first year? Could we be President's Distinguished again? Yes, we can. Every member, look at your pathways levels and the projects you are working on. And although you may be a member of more than one club, make a point of giving one of those level completions to Entrepreneur Toastmasters Club because we need it, but more importantly, you need that recognition. You need that check mark of completing a level or 2 during the course of next year and building membership. Keep inviting guests. I don't see any guests on board today. Everyone here is an official member of Entrepreneur Club, but you could bring a guest who may turn into a member next year. And we want to make sure that we welcome them just like we did Dr. Luana today. So give her another round of applause for being an official member of Entrepreneur Club because we value you, Dr. Luana, and we look forward to hearing your speeches, table topics, mastermind, whatever you have to offer. Every single member that I'm looking at can do that. And who will be the next speaker, evaluator, mastermind leader? Please sign up for future meetings and make sure that you get the value of this club and what it has to offer. Are there any comments from members before we adjourn?
Madam President,
Yes.
I had one announcement and one comment. The first announcement I had is if you are not able to make TLI this weekend, prior to us having a virtual TLI, which will also be great and informative, we're having an advanced officer training, July 13th from 8 to 9:30. July 18th from 8 to 9:30. I'll send out the Zoom information to those that are interested. This is an advanced training. There will be 10 minutes of training per office. So if you're a member of 1 club, 2 clubs, or 7, and you have 7 different roles, you'll be able to get credit for every single role that night. Secondly, the comment you made about passing the torch or about the new president coming in. If I could choose, yes, it's June 13th. Sorry, June 13th, not July 13th. It's next week after TLI, June 13th. But the comment that I wanted to make is, I hope our theme could be somewhere around running the race together. Although I am incoming president, I will definitely be running this race side by side with our president, current president, Roz Carter. It's important that sometimes we pass the torch and give it to someone else to keep running. But we know Roz, she's a servant, transformational leader that will run the race with me for as long as I need her to, until she slowly watches me take off on my own. But I would definitely look forward to running the race with you. Thank you very much. And I see Randy and Bond's hand, so I'll pass it over to Randy and then Bond.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I apologize earlier. I had some mic issues, but I want to go back to the meeting real quick and just give you some feedback from Taya. Taya, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. It's such a pretty name, but Taya, I think is how Roz says it. I don't know why I'm Taya, but Taya. There's 2 things that I got out of your talk today and also the podcast. And I sent you a private note about your podcast. I've had an opportunity to talk, not only listen to it, but talk with Roz a number of times, your mom. I call her mom too, by the way. And that's a whole nother story. But when it comes to birth records, one of the things that you made me think about today was something that maybe some of you, depending on where you were born in the United States, don't have a clue about. And so I'm going to give you a shocking recognition about something. And those of you who may know about it, it brought up something deep down inside of me that has haunted me in a way for years. I was born in the city of Boston, Massachusetts in 1954. I have no problem saying the year. I always say 1954 AD to have fun with it. And I was saying that when I was 50 years old, so it wasn't a thing like, oh, I'm getting so old. But here's the thing, my birth certificate, I had to request my birth certificate because I lost my original one. And when I got it in the mail, it was certified, but I had a copy of my original, a black and white copy. It was raggedy, and in the top corner, I remember asking my mother years ago, why did it have a little C in it? Now, I'm going to give you a moment to contemplate that and ponder that thought. My birth certificate had a handwritten C on it, and it was done in ink, and you cannot remove it based on where it was put. Anyone have an idea why that C was there?
Color.
Let me give you, I think Charles raised his hand. Let me give you a little history. Simplicity. When we owned cows, we branded them. Unfortunately, back in those days, it was a brand to recognize, and Black people have been labeled and given different names over the years, referred to differently. You may not know this, but we were considered colored people in 1950s. And that C represented a brand so that I was tagged before I could even call my mother's name as being a colored person. And that tag is a record, and you said vital statistics. And that is a vital statistic to the time, but it has nothing to do with my capabilities or had nothing to do with restricting me and so forth. But that's still a psychological tag as well. So Taya, thank you, because you made me think about something that I've thought about and wondered why and how can this be something that is done to people. And I know a lot worse has been done throughout our history, throughout the histories of different countries. But when you think about being tagged at birth, branded at birth, so that you could be kept over here while those in power can be over you, that's pretty hard stuff. That's pretty deep stuff. And I never thought about talking about it. I never thought about it from the standpoint of giving a speech to it or putting some emotion to it, other than it just isn't right that the things that we have done to other humans throughout history, not just, in my case or in someone else's case, but throughout history. So I say that to say to you, thank you for bringing that up. And the other thing is your podcast reached me, and it took me a while to actually take the time out to listen. And I was in the car and I was going to LA, and I had promised Roz I would get some questions to her. And the powerful thing about your podcast, and I think you guys are on an awesome track, is that you don't have to be a female to relate to this podcast, to the message, because there are multitudes of messages coming out of your podcast. So as a man coming to you and listening and hearing things, there are spiderweb issues that came up while listening quietly to your podcast. So I'm thrilled that you are actually going to be having some messages, particularly to men, like on Father's Day and so forth. So kudos to you guys, and I'll shut up now because that is something that I thought was really powerful. And I really did like Bond's message and how he took that and brought that to us from, don't be someone else. We talk about that on stage. Be yourself, be authentic, because people want to hear and see the real you. And we don't have to worry about so much ahs and ums in the real world, but we do have to worry about being authentic and real and humble and all those wonderful things. So thank you so much for listening to my rant. Signing off.
Well, thank you, Randy. And it's 8:03 if anyone has to leave, because, it's after 8 o'clock. We understand. But I would like to hear from Bond. His hand is up, and looks like Charles' hand is up.
Thank you, Madam President. Firstly, the comment on Randy Power's information and the knowledge, that was amazing. That is why I don't want to miss one single meeting in this club. Okay, coming back to my question, that was when Roz Carter talking about the transition or the last meeting for this current officer's term. I just wanted to point out this month also is the first anniversary of our club. It's a short time, but that for me, that has been a wild ride. Short and wild ride. Maybe next meeting, if anybody wants to do that, can give a brief review about his or her journey for the last complete year. That'd be nice to hear some of the input. That was my comments. Thank you. Back to you, Roz.
Oh, thank you. Oh, what a wonderful reminder. Let's celebrate our first anniversary as a club. We'll also have our area director install the new officers at the next meeting, and we may have a few speeches and maybe table topics. We'll see how time works out for the meeting on October 17th. So thank you for all of your comments. Charles, I see your hand is up.
3 things real quick. For all of the speakers, no matter where you're giving a presentation, please keep in mind something that the late Tom McCurley said. Tom McCurley was my mentor in Speakers Bureau. Tom said, if you can talk about it, you can show something. In other words, find a way to incorporate a visual in your presentation. It could be a PowerPoint slide. It could just be something that a chart you're showing. but please incorporate visuals. The second thing, for those of you who have not gotten your feet wet with AI, please do so. It will open up so many things for you. And I'm watching Randy smile as I make that comment.